Welcome to Concept with Justin. When you step outside your home, you deserve more than just a yard. You deserve a sanctuary, a place where stress melts away, where every sound and sight welcomes calm, and where nature feels like it has been arranged to comfort and inspire you. This is the essence of a garden oasis, a personal retreat you don't have to travel to find, because it begins right outside your front door or your back patio. Today, I want to take you through a vision of what a true garden oasis can be, and more importantly, how 5 core ideas can guide you in transforming your own outdoor space into a destination of peace and beauty. Close your eyes and imagine the first step, a lush green canopy arching overhead. You approach your garden, and instead of walking directly into open space, you are welcomed by a curtain of leaves and blossoms. The sunlight above filters softly through vines draping from an arch, scattering golden flecks across the path. It feels as though nature has built you a ceiling, an intimate shelter that marks the transition from the busy outside world to your hidden retreat. This canopy is more than just decoration. It creates coolness in the heat of summer, softness in the glare of daylight, and a feeling of intimacy that makes even a simple yard feel like an enchanted corridor. The greenery rises, the air is fresher, and you know you've entered someplace different. This is the first layer of your oasis: protection, invitation, and beauty woven together by living plants. And then you hear it. Water, trickling steadily, weaving its melody into the air. Every true oasis has a soul, and water is that soul. Whether it's a small fountain set by the patio, a pond with lilies floating on its surface, or a narrow stream winding along a pathway, the sound of water transforms your state of mind. It calms, it soothes, it distracts you from noise and pulls you into peace. The light catches on the ripples during the day, shimmering like liquid glass. At night, the moon reflects across the surface, turning water into a mirror of the stars. Imagine sitting by a pond and watching koi glide beneath the surface, their movements slow and graceful. Imagine leaning back and listening to a bowl fountain, the sound steady and rhythmic, reminding you of distant rivers. Water does not only please the ear and eye, it refreshes the air, attracts birds and butterflies, and sustains tiny ecosystems. It is not only beauty, it is life. With water in your garden, the oasis begins to breathe. As you wander deeper, you arrive at a quiet corner. Here, the oasis invites you not only to look, but to rest. Perhaps it's a wooden bench beneath a flowering tree, or a cushioned chair tucked under a pergola, or a hammock swaying gently in the breeze. This corner is yours, a space set apart not for walking, but for staying. It's where you can open a book, sip a cup of tea, or simply close your eyes and breathe in the scent of flowers. The design matters, yes. The comfort of the seat, the shade that protects you, the lanterns or string lights that glow softly in the evening. But what matters most is the feeling. You are not rushing here. You are pausing. You are absorbing. You are giving yourself the gift of time in nature without leaving home. This is what makes a garden oasis different from an ordinary yard. It doesn't just surround you with plants, it creates destinations of comfort. It gives you reasons to linger, to stay longer, to return again and again. One of the most overlooked secrets of an oasis is structure. Gardens that feel timeless often have strong geometry guiding the flow. Picture a central pathway lined with symmetrical pots, evenly spaced hedges, or stone tiles that lead the eye to a focal point, a fountain, a sculpture, or a majestic tree. Symmetry doesn't mean rigidity. Instead, it creates harmony, helping the mind relax. When your pathways are thoughtfully designed, you instinctively slow down, explore, and feel grounded. Imagine guests arriving and being guided effortlessly by a walkway bordered with lavender or boxwood, their senses greeted with fragrance and order. The benefit of symmetry and pathways is clarity. Your garden becomes easy to navigate, elegant in style, and endlessly photogenic. The most mesmerizing oases are those that unfold in layers, surprising you at every step. Picture tall palms or ornamental trees forming the upper canopy, shrubs and flowering bushes filling the mid-level, and ground covers, moss, or stepping stones completing the base. Add lighting at each level, uplights that wash tree trunks, soft lanterns illuminating the mid-height shrubs, and glowing ground lights tracing the pathway. At dusk, your garden becomes a theater of shadows and highlights, alive with depth. These layers invite exploration, creating a sense of abundance and dimension. Imagine sitting outside at night, the garden glowing softly, layered textures alive in moonlight, and you feel like you've entered a dreamscape. The benefit is immersive design. Your garden oasis no longer looks flat, but feels alive, multidimensional, and endlessly enchanting. And then, as you leave the corner and walk again, you realize something important. This oasis feels ordered, calm, and easy to explore. That is because it is built on structure. Pathways guide you, symmetry reassures you, and your eyes are drawn forward with clarity. Perhaps a central walkway leads from the entrance to a fountain, lined with evenly spaced pots on either side. Perhaps low hedges frame the garden, or stone tiles mark each step with intention. Symmetry doesn't mean stiffness, it means harmony. When a garden is balanced, your mind relaxes. When a pathway is defined, your curiosity awakens. You slow down, you look around, and you allow yourself to feel grounded. Picture guests arriving at your home and instantly being guided by a walkway bordered by lavender, the scent rising as they pass. They feel welcome before they've even reached your door. Symmetry and pathways are not just practical, they are psychological. They tell your guests, and yourself, that this space has order, beauty, and rhythm. As the sun begins to set, the oasis transforms once again. What felt calm and inviting in daylight becomes magical at dusk. That is because the garden is layered, not only with plants, but with light. Tall palms or trees form the upper canopy, shrubs and flowers fill the middle ground, and ground covers, moss, and stepping stones complete the lower level. And when you add lighting at each layer, the space glows with depth and dimension. Uplights illuminate tree trunks, giving them drama and presence. Soft lanterns nestled among the shrubs create a gentle glow. Small ground lights trace the path like stars guiding your steps. As darkness falls, your garden does not disappear, it awakens into a theater of shadows and highlights. Imagine sitting outside at night with soft music playing, the garden glowing all around you, the layers of plants alive with texture and mystery. You feel as though you are inside a dreamscape, surrounded by an atmosphere that is at once calming and inspiring. Layers of life and light do more than decorate. They immerse you in an experience. They give your oasis depth, richness, and a sense of wonder. When all of these ideas are woven together, the lush canopy, the living water, the cozy corners, the guiding symmetry, and the layered lights, you step into something far greater than the sum of its parts. You step into a world that feels seamless, where every detail supports the next. Imagine entering your oasis. You walk beneath a shaded archway, follow a stone path lined with planters, pause by the sound of a bubbling fountain, sit for a while in a cozy nook, and then watch as the night falls and the garden glows softly around you. Each transition feels natural. Each step feels intentional. This is not just landscaping, it is storytelling through design. It is your personal narrative written in soil, stone, water, and light. And what does such a space give you? It gives you a daily retreat. It gives you the joy of nature without the need to travel far. It gives you mornings of peace, afternoons of laughter, and evenings of wonder. It gives your guests a memory, your family a gathering place, and yourself a sanctuary. Imagine stepping through a gate and into an oasis so full of green and scent that the rest of the world seems to recede. Stay with me and I'll guide you through 5 ideas that will turn any ordinary outdoor or balcony space into a lush, fragrant garden you'll want to live in. Begin by mapping your light and water. Walk the space at different hours and notice where sun and shade fall, where the wind sings and where it hardly stirs. Picture the northern corner where morning light lingers, the western edge that glows late in the day, and the narrow strip that only receives filtered sun through a neighboring building. Now imagine placing your tallest, structural plants in those brightest spots: palms, bamboo, or a slender olive tree that creates a green spine and an immediate sense of enclosure. Visualize lower, bushy shrubs beneath them, a layered stair of foliage that moves from tall accents to medium-height shrubs and then down to small flowering perennials and ground cover. The benefit is instant depth and privacy, a vertical composition that shields noise, frames views, and builds a sense of intimacy as soon as you step inside. This layered planting also creates microclimates, pockets of cool shade under taller canopies, sunlit patches that feed thirsty bloomers, and sheltered corners ideal for delicate seedlings, giving you flexibility to locate a wide palette of plants where they'll thrive. As you let the structural plants anchor the space, commit to a rhythm of repetition and contrast to make the greenery read as a cohesive whole rather than a random assortment. Choose 2 or 3 recurring foliage types, perhaps a glossy-leaved evergreen, a feathery fern, and a silver-gray sage, and repeat them in groups around the garden. Between those repeats, drop in contrasting plants that break the pattern with shape, texture, or color, a draping vine spilling over a wall, a clump of upright ornamental grasses, or a hedge of low-flowering shrubs. Envision clusters of 3 or 5 of the same plant rather than lonely singles. Picture those clusters catching the light at different times of day so the shape of the garden keeps changing and surprising. The benefit here is visual cohesion and movement. Repetition gives calm and unity, while contrast delivers interest and drama, making the oasis feel both restful and alive. Once composition and repetition are in play, layer in fragrant pathways and fragrant focal points so scent becomes an intentional, moving experience. Imagine narrow stone paths edged with fragrant herbs, lavender, thyme, lemon balm, whose leaves release perfume each time you brush past. picture a threshold planted with jasmine or mock orange so that every entry greets you with blossoms. Visualize a central container planted with rosemary and scented geraniums near seating so that the aroma rises when you reach for your cup. Think of night-blooming species like moonflower or evening primrose near a lantern corner so the evening air fills with perfume. The benefit of weaving scent into movement is profound. Fragrance turns a garden into a sensual sequence and engages memory. So you don't just see the oasis, you live inside it through smell as well as sight. With scent guiding movement, plan seating and moments of repose that allow you to inhabit the garden and notice small details. Picture a shaded bench tucked beneath a canopy of vines, its back framed by a living wall of green. Imagine a small round table in a sunny pocket, surrounded by low pots bursting with annuals, perfect for morning coffee. Visualize a hammock slung between two posts, draped with a cotton throw, where late afternoon light filters through fronds above and petals occasionally drift down. The benefit of thoughtful seating is social and solitary utility. The garden becomes a series of rooms where you can read, talk, sleep, entertain, or simply breathe. Strategically place seating to capture the best seasonal moments. Morning sun for breakfasts, dappled noon shade for siestas, and evening glow for long dinners, and you'll extend the hours you spend outdoors. These living rooms in the landscape make the oasis functional, not just pretty. As seating invites you to stay longer, make the oasis resilient and easy to care for so that lushness doesn't become a burden. Select plants suited to your climate and microclimates. Drought-tolerant varieties for exposed edges, moisture-loving species for low-lying pockets, and tough evergreens to give winter structure. Incorporate self-mulching containers, well-draining soil mixes, and a simple drip irrigation system that hides under mulch and keeps roots happy with minimal fuss. Imagine grouping plants by water needs so that a single irrigation line can serve a whole zone, and think about installing a small rain barrel under a downspout to capture free water. Add ground covers and mulches to reduce weeding and maintain soil moisture, and consider slow-release organic fertilizers rather than constant feeding. The benefit is sustained beauty with reduced labor, a garden that rewards you with sensory richness while allowing you time to enjoy it rather than tending it constantly. Transitioning from maintenance to seasonal showmanship. Plan for succession and layers of bloom so your oasis changes and surprises through the year. Sketch a calendar in your mind where early spring bulbs carpet the ground with ephemeral color. Late spring shrubs take the stage, summer vines explode into fragrant abundance, and autumn foliage and late-season blooms keep the palate warm. Imagine bulbs tucked beneath perennials so each spring brings a new burst without disturbing established plants. Think of layering annuals in containers to add seasonal pops while perennials build the framework. Picture winter interest plants. Evergreen hollies, buried cotoneaster, or the structural seed heads of ornamental grasses, carrying the garden through the colder months. The benefit of succession planting is a dynamic landscape that rewards attention across seasons. You'll always have something to look forward to, and the oasis will feel alive year-round rather than peaking and falling silent. Now place the flowers where they will be both seen and smelled. Create sight lines that lead the eye to flowering focal points. A swath of densely planted, hot pink salvias against a pale wall. A large pot overflowing with cascading petunias at the corner of a patio. A single specimen rose trained on an archway so it greets visitors. Picture stepping closer to inhale, perhaps a cluster of gardenias whose white blossoms intoxicate on still afternoons, or a bank of lavender whose purple wands hum with bees. Consider the height and timing of blooms so that low-slung carpets of time don't hide beneath taller summer showstoppers. The benefit here is layered discovery. Walk into the garden and notice flowers up close, from the edge of your shoe to eye level and above. Each step reveals something new. To make the oasis social, incorporate elements that invite shared rituals and gatherings. Imagine a long rustic table beneath a pergola wrapped in grapevine or wisteria, an outdoor room for dinners fragrant with herbs picked from your own beds. Picture a small fire pit surrounded by low stools where marshmallows and late-night conversations unfold, the warmth echoing the warmth of the garden. Visualize a tea corner with mismatched chairs and a tray of potted mints so you can invite a friend in for restorative moments.